So for those of you that follow the channel, you already know that I'm a big fan of Wise watches. You might even say an advocate for Wise watches. I love them that much. And you've already probably seen the video where I went to Thailand. I visited one of their boutiques at the Icon Siam Mall, ended up buying a watch. Shortly after the release of that video, I had mentioned in a number of other videos that I probably should have bought two, right? I could have bought three, to be honest. I fell in love with so many. But I came away with one. But now, 3/4 of a year later, I couldn't help myself. I went ahead and ordered another one. And I gotta say, as much as I love the AD791 that I bought in Thailand, I may love this watch even more. It's that impressive. And I'm talking about the watch we're going to talk about today, and that's the Wise AD8, the limited edition Shades of Thailand. Let's get into it. And now first off, something I want to bring up here that I get sick and tired of seeing in review after review after review when it comes to Wise watches. And that's because Wise had made the decision to go with the 904L stainless steel, right? The similar level of steel that Rolex uses for their oyster steel. So often, you're going to see comparisons made between Wise watches and Rolexes. You'll see headlines like the affordable OP in reference to their 9 series models. Although it's not a 904L stainless steel comparison, but I have a Wise 8791, and the 87 series, because of the design, is quite often compared to a Mega Aquaterras. And these comparisons just shouldn't be made. I can't stand these comparisons. It rubs me the wrong way every time I see a thumbnail that tries to compare something like a Wise watch to a Rolex or an Omega, or someone comparing a Seiko to a Breitling, or a San Martin to a Rolex or something of that ilk. It's insulting to the brand Rolex or Omega or Breitling, whoever it is they're comparing to, but it's also insulting to the brand that's doing it, unless it's an homage. If it's an homage and you're making an observation that they've done a very good job at imitating the original, fine. But when companies like Wise produce their own designs and reviewers have the audacity to compare them to something like a Rolex and say that they're quite close in a lot of aspects, it's bullshit, right? It's a comparison that should never be made. You're talking about two completely different categories of watches targeted at a completely different audience. And to say that one's imitating the other is insulting on both sides, if you ask me, when you're talking about original designs. So let's just get that out of the way. Sure, it's made out of 904L stainless steel, but there are a number of watches from a number of manufacturers that use 904L stainless steel outside of Rolex, and that does not mean it is in any way or form a comparison to Rolex or a copy of Rolex. The AD8 Shades of Thailand is first and foremost a celebration of the brand's heritage, right? Of the fact that they're made in Thailand. They go as far as using the Thai flag colors in the design, and if you've been to Thailand like I have, you'll immediately recognize those colors as colors that are reflected in everything Thailand. So I love the fact that it's called the Shades of Thailand. I've heard a number of people complain about the name of the watch being the Shades of Thailand, but they're just making a point, right? They're being completely obvious of their intention. There was in no way or form an attempt to make a sort of crafty name out of this. The whole idea behind this watch is to say, we're a Thai company. We assemble in Thailand to make an impressive watch, and we want to celebrate that reason. So that's what the Shades of Thailand's all about. But let's get into why I personally decided to go with this watch, and it does begin with the fact that I've traveled to Thailand and I absolutely loved it there. So to answer why I bought this particular watch, why I went for the AD8 Shades of Thailand, is simple. One, I trust the brand. I've fallen in love with the brand Wise. The quality of watches they produce is fantastic. Two, after traveling to Thailand and kind of falling in love with the country itself, The Shades of Thailand is aptly named because when you look at this watch, if you've traveled to Thailand, you see a lot of the Thai colors represented in it. It takes you right back to it. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of places in Thailand I visited alongside the watch so you too can see the direct comparison between the color combinations in the watch and the colors of the natural flora, fauna, and architecture in Thailand. And that's really why I went for it, right? The third reason, but it's less of a reason, is that it comes with the 904L stainless steel bracelet, and I wanted something that would really shine and pick up the light. Something a bit blingy, and this on a bracelet grabs a lot of attention. It is quite the bling piece to wear. Like now, if you do put it on a strap, it's a completely different story, but when you wear it on the bracelet, it really stands out, right? It pops. And that was the kind of watch I was looking for at the time. That's kind of what I wanted to add to my watch box. I like high polish, and the majority of my watches already have it, but I didn't have something as bright and shiny and different as this, because if you look at it alongside my Rado Captain Cook, they share a lot of similarities, right? There are a number of things that each of them has that grabs you initially as far as the appearance of it goes, but they're two very different watches. Which brings me to maybe ticking off the boxes, right? What do you get with this particular watch? Well, I've already mentioned you get the 904 stainless steel, right? You get a very interesting colorway. It's a combination of colors you're not going to see maybe in any other watch out there, right? You've got the Côte de Genève dial, which is fascinating to say the least. It's a classic, flourish that you see in watches, but you usually see it in the movements, utilized in movements. It's kind of cool to see it on the face. And depending on the angle you look at it, you will not see it at all, whereas you have this almost matte, very deep red, almost a burnt sienna look to it, but then you catch it in the right light and the Côte de Genève shows up and you get a certain reflection from it, right? So you have that. The fact that you have these brass accents, the indices and the hands are framed in that brass. You've got the brass crown and of course the brass accent around the bezel adds a bit of additional sort of premium look to it. It makes it a little more dressy when you want it to be. But of course, if you remove the 904L stainless steel strap, or bracelet, and you put it on a basic strap, whether that be leather or canvas or rubber or something like that, it becomes a very different watch that you can dress down. It still has that touch of shine, but it isn't as blatantly luxurious as it is when it's on the bracelet. Speaking of the bracelet, you've got a fully milled clasp, of course, and in this case, you've also got a toolless micro adjust, right? So one thing I've mentioned before when it comes to bracelets is that I don't like the drilled holes on the side of the clasp for adjusting a bracelet because it makes a watch look a little bit cheaper to have that. I'm glad that Wise didn't go that way and instead incorporated a toolless micro adjust, because once it's closed up, sized up and closed on your wrist, it looks the way it's meant to look. It looks like it's been properly sized to you without having to fiddle around. And that's exactly how I want a luxury watch to look, right? Basically, the bracelet ticks all the boxes. 904L stainless steel, milled clasp, toolless micro adjust, and it's got quick release spring bars that are very easy to use to pop it on or pop it off if you want to switch it with something else. Going back to the case itself, I'll throw up the dimensions of the actual watch here. Of course, you got a 20 millimeter bracelet size, but also you've got sapphire in both the front and back, right? So you got a sapphire sandwich here, so your chances of scratching the glass on either side is significantly reduced. It's a screw down crown, gives you 200 meters of water resistance, so if you want to take this diving, you can. I don't really see it as a dive watch. This is your typical desk diver, really, but if you want to get adventurous while wearing it, by all means, it can handle it. 120 click bezel with fantastic action. Absolutely perfect. No back play whatsoever. Sits bang on the marker. It's it's what I wanted, right? It's everything I wanted and more. I knew I was going to love it. I had taken a brief look at it when I was in Thailand, but it wasn't one of the models I was interested in at the time. I just kind of checked it out and thought, wow, that looks nice, but not what I'm after. And when I completed that trip, because Bangkok was actually my first stop in Thailand on that particular trip, I purchased the watch and then went and saw a number more places in Thailand and didn't really fall in love with Thailand until I got to Koh Samui. And it was at that time I thought to myself, wow, I probably should have bought that Shades of Thailand. And I've been thinking about it ever since. And here we are a little over, half a year later, and I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, right? So I'm pleased with my purchase. I actually like it a little bit more than the AD791 I already own, although I see that as a purely dress piece for me, right? I generally wear that only in dress situations, whereas this watch, like I said, depending on which strap I throw on it, I'm going to wear it in all situations. It's going to be something I wear a little more regularly. Maybe something I'll eventually truly fall in love with. I've already made the comment in the unboxing video that this could become my favorite watch. I wouldn't doubt that at all. But we'll see as we go along. I got a lot more coming up. I've got 2 more watches all ready to review and give you my opinions on and why it is I'm considering adding them to my collection. But before we get to that, I got something special planned. But you'll have to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss it. Like 95% of you haven't subscribed. It's about time you did. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. And see you next time.